Hello, welcome back to the David Watson podcast. Today I spoke with Monty Schulz, and Monty has been writing for a long time. He's managed some music, some film production, and he's done a little bit of everything. And has got two books. One is already out, one is coming out, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to the David Watson podcast. How are you doing in Santa Barbara? Is it nice and sunny?
It's sunny, a little chilly, but it's nice. We had rain a couple of days ago, pouring for, I don't know, 2.5 days. Santa Barbara doesn't get a lot of rain, so it makes it entertaining, I guess. I like it. I live in a couple other places as well, so but I guess this is my main house. Although my son says it's a what does he say? A stopover on my way to my place up in Carmel, Northern California, or Central California, and then to Hawaii, where I spend about half the year.
Nice.
Like this book, Metropolis, and then Undercity, which we'll talk about. I wrote in both places.
Oh, cool.
So I had to make sure the files are all updated, the computer's working, and then I don't know. As far as writing, it doesn't really matter where I am.
Yeah.
I have to write on a desktop computer, so I'm not writing on a laptop, and I'm not. I have places. It's not like I go away to a cabin somewhere and write. That wouldn't really work for me. I also didn't need a good view. And when I wrote Metropolis, initially I had my computer and my desk were facing into a closet, and I got asked, "Wouldn't you like a good view?" I said, "The view that I need to have is the computer screen. That's it."
Yeah.
So I gotta be focused.
Stephen King has said something about that he all he needs is the wall in front of him. He doesn't need a distraction to help him write. He just gets on with it.
Yeah. I don't really. The mood and everything comes from inside me. It doesn't come from my environment. I just have to write on the desktop computer, and then it's these two books were actually pretty easy to write for some obscure reason. My other books took a long time, but these were they were visitations by the muses, right?
Yeah.
And guiding me.
But that's always, I think that's sometimes what people think is writer's block, is them waiting for the muse to turn up.
Yeah, well, my dad told me that he didn't believe in writer's block. He said only amateurs get writer's block. Professionals can't afford it.
Yeah.
And I think, and I carried that further by saying that I believe that writer's block is either person afraid of writing something bad, which is sort of a problem, and then being lazy. I just don't see, when people say, I just don't know what goes on the page. Well, something has to go on the page, and something, good or bad, is better than nothing. You can't work off a blank page, so you just write. Sometimes just slog it through. I wrote in my book Crossing Eden, I had a scene that ended up being like maybe 2.5 pages, and it took me a month to write because I had no inspiration whatsoever, and I just wrote it sentence after sentence after sentence, really with only one sentence a day. So I got was one sentence a day, no idea what is even going to sound like. When I finished it, first I hated it because it took so long and slowed my writing the book up. But I read it; it was perfect, and I can't read it now and see that it took a month to write, but it just did. But for Metropolis and Undercity, it was very easy. I wrote Undercity. Metropolis I'd started in 2001 to 2003, and then I gave it up for 16 years, and I picked it up in August of 2019, and in the exact same spot I'd stopped in 2003, and I wrote the following 620 pages in 9 months, and I had a really good writing schedule. I can't talk about writer's block. So here's how I did it. I did the same thing in the last maybe 2/3 of writing Undercity. I decided I had to write at least one page in the morning before I ate or drank anything. And you could not have any water, couldn't have any. Oh, I didn't drink coffee anyway, but and I couldn't eat anything, so I got really hungry. And the deal was, so let's say the previous page ended 20 lines down, so then I had to pick it up there, go down to the bottom, then up to the other page, and then hit at least 20 lines there. And I was counting lines. I'm hungrier I got, right? How many do I have to go? 16, 12, 10. Come on,
Yeah.
I tell people there's visions of a ham sandwich are floating in my head, and I had to, and of course, then the rest of the day I could, write another page, 2 pages, 3 pages, whatever. But I could not eat or drink a single thing till I wrote that one page. And so that is a very good conqueror of writer's block. Hunger is a good conqueror of writer's block, right? Thirst. Yeah.
It is. I think
So that's how I did it.
I think people underestimate the kind of having a contract with yourself. I say to people sometimes that if you want to write, like when I wrote my first book, it was as simple as just right. I'd write times in my diary as if I had a meeting. And when it was 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, if I'd written write book, start writing, I'd just sit there and start. And I realised that procrastination, like you said, was possibly just influenced by laziness. And I would just start writing. And then when I went back and read it the next day and I thought it was a pile of shit, okay.
Yeah.
It's not worked for you. You don't understand it. Right, we'll see if you can write something that's not a pile of shit, and just move forward, and just because otherwise you just sit there like people like waiting for some magic thing to happen where they're going to write a final draft of a masterpiece in 30 minutes. It's like you've got to slog this out. You've got to figure it out. And you said something, and I think it's the strongest thing like the best advice I could give somebody. If you're afraid to write it, that's exactly what you should write.
Right. Yeah, I think so. You have to have a challenge, that's for sure. And also have to write what you want, what means something to you. Norman Mailer said that trying to write a bestseller, that is akin to marrying for money and not love, and then discovering the absence of both is more onerous than expected.
Yeah.
And he said, in fact, write what you want. Write what moves you. And I think that's also true. But I had a weird experience in Undercity where there's one of the vignettes is called The Orphan, and I thought I needed an orphan, and because of the orphans being captured and taken away by trains to a death chamber, and so I was going to write it from the point of view of the girl, 13 years old, Flora Vale. And so I sat down and wrote it, and the trains were going to have to be something like from the concentration camp trains, right? And I didn't do much research for it, so I don't know, I just wrote it. And I wrote what I thought were about 5 or 6 pages. And then I stopped because I thought it was a complete failure. I just was not capturing the idea of it. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel authentic at all. So I gave it up. And then I tried, I think a few months later, to write it from an adult point of view, like when this girl is older. And that worked even more poorly. So I gave the whole thing up. And then a year ago, May, I decided I was going to just redo the whole thing. I'd keep her name. My name is Flora Vale, and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at, and then I was going to delete everything after that. So I read it. It was 13 pages. It wasn't 6. It was 13 pages, and I'd written near to the end of where I thought the plot was going to go regarding her. And here was the most amazing thing. It was perfect. It was perfect. I only had to change a couple of names that I decided to change it, and that was it. Not only that, here's the mystery. I have no memory of writing any of it. Not a single sentence. I know the story. There's little stories in it. There's a plot, and then names of characters. I mean, I don't remember anything. I don't remember a single thing that in those 13 pages. I don't remember writing any of it. So my theory is that this is the only explanation is that I wrote forward 13 pages and I never looked behind. I never read a single thing I'd written in it. Because I don't really need to, go back and forth and edit, move stuff. I don't really need to do that. I write pretty well straightforward, and so I think that's it. I think I don't remember writing it because I never looked at it. It's the only explanation. I mean, you can imagine 13 pages. You have no memory of writing a single word of it, but that's what happened.
But also to have that kind of reservoir of ill feeling towards it, like what's there is a pile of shit. It's just like with nothing. It's like, well, where did that come from? Because
I know. Well,
you've built up all of this energy and this idea around it that it's crap, and then you go back and look at something you don't remember writing, and you're like, actually, that's pretty good.
yeah, it was. I mean, it's really good. It's a 13-year-old voice. It sounds really good. I even just sort of compare it. I read "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret," Judy Blume's book, and funny, that character Margaret is 13 years old, just like Flora Vale. And but what I did do was I looked up a description of people having been on the one of the Holocaust trains, right? And I did it exactly the same way. I just wanted to see, did they feed them or give them water or anything like that? And the answer was no, 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 no. And
Yeah,
but I wrote the whole thing like that. So in other words, to capture what it was like in those trains, I did it because reading the descriptions of people actually being on those trains, it was exactly right. So I don't know. I guess I had already from research in the past and reading about the Holocaust and in those trains. I guess I had a really firm idea of what it was like. I just wasn't aware of it that when I was writing Flora Vale, the orphan. But anyway, you see it in the book, and um, it's really good. I was like amazed because they kept thinking I need the orphan, need the orphan, need the orphan, and my writing is crap, crap, crap. How am I going to do it? And then I looked at it, as like, and then I had to finish. I had to pick that voice up, right? Pick it, and that's another thing. It was actually really easy to pick up. I read what I'd done a little bit, and then continued on, and it was another maybe I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 pages, and then it was done. And then I wrote a sort of there was the opening is her looking back what happened 18 years ago, and then I finished like how her story what happened with the rest of her life, or to a certain point, and but the 13-year-old voice is really good. So I was like, wow, what didn't you like about it when you're writing it? And I realized, well, what I didn't like about it is I didn't read it. Would be helped to read what you wrote, but I don't know. I guess, David, I don't. I must not have been feeling it. I must not have been feeling that it was good. I usually can tell, and usually like what I write, and I read over and over. But I must have been in such a mood that I hated what I was doing, for some reason. Maybe the idea is I had a preconceived notion of what it was going to sound like,
yeah,
what it's supposed to sound like. But the funny thing was that it did sound like what my idea would have been. It's just I was not aware. Maybe it's just what I said off the top. Maybe it's because I never looked back.
yeah.
If I'd gone back and read it, I would have said, "Oh, this is all good. Just keep going." But no, right? I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things
And
in writing.
it's a
And I'm not
difficult
even,
topic, though, isn't it? It's a difficult topic, and maybe
yeah.
it just kind of touched a nerve subconsciously that you wasn't ready to revisit.
Could be. It could be. I was in a hurry to finish the book, and I had another. It's one of I think 18 vignettes in the book, and maybe I felt I did in the others much better, and I like understood a really easy book to write, even though the language is it's poetic and interesting, philosophical, and it flows along and whatever. I don't know. I don't really have a better explanation why I didn't like The Orphan, but it's one of my favorite parts of the book now. And what we did, by the way, in preparing the manuscript is my book designer and I found a font that looks like a 13-year-old girl's handwriting.
Oh, nice.
And I had to be really careful. I had to find. I mean, you can't have because she's writing it in a journal. I mean, a diary. Her mom has given her diary on her 13th birthday, so she's writing it in there. So it can't. None of the letters can be overly ornate because she's writing on a train. She's writing kind of
Yeah,
sometime in the dark.
yeah.
She's got a little pen. So it had to look like a handwriting, but it couldn't have any flourishes at all. So we rejected multiple fonts to choose one that looks that's fairly fairly pretty like a 13-year-old girl would write, but without any ornamentation at all. So and it works really well. I really like it. I like everything about that vignette, and it was super important for the book. So anyhow, that's the story for that.
When when did you start writing?
Well, in my life,
Yeah,
I
yeah. I mean,
started writing as a
no, but
oh
some people were like prolific
yeah.
writers as kids. Other people come
Yeah.
to it in their 30s or 40s.
I was first when I even tried to write, probably um, you know, between maybe 11 and 13 or 14, and because just reading Ray Bradbury, reading H.G. Wells, and maybe I was trying to write a little science fiction story like that. Um, I remember when I was in sophomore in high school, we had in the English class we had um, a session where we're supposed to write short stories. So I wrote a really sort of a bad, probably a not Planet of the Apes knockoff, and my my teacher wrote home to my parents and said, "While Monty's classmates are writing about social issues, he's off in space somewhere." Well, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. I was the only person in that class or in that school in that time to ever publish a novel later on. So you can't tell who's going to write. But it didn't really interest me that much. I was more interested in history and reading. And then I went away to college. I was playing hockey, and I suddenly I got the idea of suddenly music interested me for the first time. So I'm 19 years old. Suddenly, really interested me, and I remember rewriting, which a lot of songwriters do, rewriting the lyrics to Ruby Tuesday,
Yep.
with the melody. And then when I came home back to California, then I picked up, I got a guitar and started writing my own melodies and my own lyrics. And then my dad saw that I had he said a gift for lyrics, so he turned me toward poetry. So he turned me toward Carl Sandburg and Edgar Lee Masters of Spoon River Anthology, and then prose, Joan Didion and Carson McCullers and Truman Capote. Oh, and Thomas Wolfe. And so at first, so I started writing poetry, and so I'd given up songwriting. I wrote songs for a couple of years. I came back to it a few years ago, but I started writing poetry, and then from poetry to prose, and then I was trying to find a voice. I always tell people, as writers, you have to find a voice. Some writers are published; they still move to voice at all. I read a novel recently, very well written, but not distinctive. And I was reading it simultaneously to reading Joe Didion's A Book of Common Prayer, and then looking at what I had on Undercity. And I thought that this woman, although and her book, I guess, has been was on the bestseller list, was she was a good writer. Nothing wrong with her writing, but I would say nothing great about it either. Where
Yeah.
you read Joan Didion and you can see a very distinctive style, and this woman has no style at all. And I've read 3 or 4 books in the last couple of years like that. Very good books, very well written, but not artistic at all. No, nothing special in them. But anyway, so I was trying to imitate, of course, Thomas Wolfe, which is impossible. And then when I was in graduate school at that time, and I discovered Carson McCullers, and Carson McCullers was a great influence. Carl Sandburg was the first influence for me as a writer. Still my favorite writer for sentence rhythms and how he used lyrical poetry. And then uh, and Carson McCullers was like, I saw how I could have a poetic voice, but have it a simpler, easier to write than say Thomas Wolfe. Nobody writes like Thomas Wolfe. So anyway, that's kind of, so I really started writing probably in my, I don't know, maybe, well, I had to finish graduate school, so maybe 20s and then early 30s, and then I wrote my first novel. I think I published it, I think 39 years old or something like that. And then I wanted to write a more literary novel, so I started writing as Crossing Eden is my novel, 1,086 pages, set in the spring, summer, and fall of 1929. Three different voices interwoven as this
Yeah.
really long story, great American novel kind of book. And so anyway, and then I gave it up for years. I got tired of sitting in front of a computer. When I published Crossing Eden, I I stopped writing music for about or stopped writing books for about 5 years, and then was writing music. But it cost too much money and didn't fill my time. And I was horrified because I told you I was sick of sitting in front of the computer writing. And then I had this revelation, like, Monty, so what are you doing every day? Answer: nothing. Okay, so what do you? When were your days filled most last? And I realized it was when I was writing books. And I went to Santa Barbara Writers Conference, which I own and teach at, and in 2019, and I was And I was going to go back. So I'm going to go back to Hawaii. And I was going to bring my notes for a book called Penny Dreams. But everyone's walking around. We're writing. We're going to get published. And I'm thinking, I don't care anything about books, even though I was taking all my book notes to Hawaii to work on that book. And I just couldn't make anything happen with it. And then I looked at Metropolis, and I picked the book up right where I stopped in 2003. And then I just, you see saved files, Penny Dreams. When I'm done with the work for the day, I save it to Gmail. So I was, you see Penny Dreams, Metropolis, Penny Dreams, Metropolis, and all of a sudden you just see Metropolis.
Yeah.
And I wrote it for 9 months, straight for 9 months, and finished the book. So there you go. There's my writing background. I could have summed it up if I.
No, it's good because it's nice to know, because people, everybody's, no pun intended, but everyone's story about how they start writing and where it ends up is different, and I think it's important for people to hear that, because people kind of get bogged down with there's one way to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
and there isn't.
No, that's the point. There isn't. It's something like you said earlier. Write something. Don't try to write a bestseller. Write what you want to write.
Right.
Put it down in words what it is you want to explain to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think it's true. And although, say Truman Capote said he wrote stories since he was little. Okay. Ray Bradbury, I think, was always writing. He ended up saying that he'd never had a job in his life. He just wrote stories. So everybody's different. I don't think you can tell who's going to be a writer. Raymond Chandler didn't start publishing his novels until he was in his 40s, I think. So I don't think, even if you see, say, somebody in lower school or middle school or whatever writing, you think, oh, this person's going to be a writer. You don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't know. You can't predict. You can't predict when that writing muse will settle in somebody and then emerge. So, like, I wouldn't, for instance, the books I write now, well, maybe Metropolis is understated, probably different, but maybe not. The books I write, I don't think I would have read when I was a teenager. I wouldn't have read until I started discovering literature. I mean, writing of it. And so it's like when people are trying to get people to read, and they're always saying, well, you have to read the classics first. Well, I'm like, okay, if you're going to have people read Jane Austen and Dickens and Moby Dick and whatever, they're never going to read it for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You have to send them to books that are really entertaining, and generally that means popular fiction. I think that's fine. People ask me, so what do you think about people reading Stephen King? I go, it's great. They're reading. I think people read, and Stephen King is a great storyteller. I don't really think he's a great writer, but he because I don't think he tries hard enough, or maybe he does. I don't know, but I read. So Steve, I buy all your books. I buy all his books. I pay full price and I read them all, because I like him as a writer. I like him as a storyteller. Same with John, Grisham, and a lot of the popular writers. I read their books. I just don't think, as writers, they're the same as, say, Garcia Marquez, right, and or Joan Didion, or Faulkner, or this Chilean writer really like Roberto Bolaño or Paul Bowles. Those people, I don't think they write at that level, but it doesn't really matter. They're still writing, still telling stories, and people should be reading regardless. This is actually kind of funny, because my kids, my boys, have not read any of my books, okay? And my siblings haven't read any, okay? And my girlfriends haven't either. So I don't know. It just shows people don't read. But I mean, if they don't read.
So yeah, I was just going to say, but I think that's something that helps people understand as well, that you think that your friends and family are going to be your biggest supporters, and they're not. I don't think anyone read my book. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, because that's just not what they do. But somehow, because of the internet, everyone thinks that if you write a book and put it out there on Facebook or amongst your friends, that you're going to have all your friends, family, cousins, and all that. They're all going to buy your book and support it. They won't.
No, I tell people, I said, so for somebody who doesn't read, the novelty of, let's say, you, David, or me having written the book will wear off in about 10 pages, right? That's it.
Yeah,
Because they don't read. And so the experience of reading is not going to be different just because I wrote it or you wrote it. It's not, it doesn't work like that. So and I just couldn't kind of tell whether somebody's going to read the book or not. It just depends. What do you read? Oh, well, I don't know. I read nonfiction stuff. I read about cooking, or I read about travel books, or I
yeah,
read biographies or something like that. Okay, well, biographies might kind of count, drifting in the right direction, but it won't go very far from that. So I don't. I had a girlfriend briefly from England, and she graduated in Manchester in marketing, and she just didn't really read. Although she was reading Metropolis till she broke up with me. It's really funny. She was getting near. She's about 100 pages away. But I'll tell you this. Then okay, David. There's another part of that, which is that, and this has been true not only for her but for another really good friend, where they they tell me they've read the book, but it's like I have a friend who's a cellist. She's really great. She's really tremendous musician. But she read my 1,000-page novel, Crossing Eden. But I don't think really she actually read it. I think she skimmed it. And the reason I say that is that she had no comments about it at all. And there are a lot of things to talk about in that book. And
yeah,
so, same thing when she read Metropolis, no comments, which led me to believe I don't really know how you read that book, how you can read either of those two books and have no responses except I liked it. Whatever. I could I could play one of my songs, 3 minute song. And she, oh, I liked it. And I read your 686-page novel and I liked it. Okay. What about it? So I think that's what I'm saying. So these people that have ignored our books, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you that if they read them, you get this. They might
no,
well not have read them.
yeah, for sure.
It's like my mom did. My mom, apparently, I thought mom didn't read any of my books, and then I was told after she died, I was told, oh yeah, she did. And I said, so, and aren't you glad she read your books? I go, no, I don't have any feeling at all. She never told me she read them. What am I supposed to feel?
Yeah,
And she should have talked to me about them, but she never. So I don't. I don't, it doesn't bother me, if I have a girlfriend or just not going to read my book. And although my current girlfriend, she's going to come with me on my book tour. And well, it's not a big tour, but still. And I said, really, it'd be really good to read Undercity before we get to the book signings. But I told her a couple of days ago, I mean, I totally love her, but I did say, uh, I would bet $5,000 that you're not going to read that book because you just can't. You just don't have the attention span. It's just not something you do. You could. We've read part of it together. Where we're both reading on the iPad. I got the PDF of the book, so she's reading. I'm reading. She actually reads pretty quickly, but we don't have much dialogue about it. I don't know, but she likes it. But maybe she can read the whole thing if we're sitting in bed reading on the
yeah.
iPad, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I proofed, by the way, David, I proofed my last proofreading of Undercity, I did in 4.5 days.
Oh
So remember,
wow.
that's a 694 book. I read it.
Yeah,
I know, 4.5 days. And here's the thing: people said, well, you probably read pretty fast. No, 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 proofreading. I'm
yeah,
reading super duper slow, slowly so I can find errors. But I did it by reading a massive amount of pages. I had 4.5 days to do it, according to my book designer. So I figured out the math of it. I didn't have time if I read 50 pages a day. Nope. 100 pages a day? No. That will not bring me under the deadline, where I had a deadline where he had to give the book in. So so one of the days I realized, one of these days, dude, you have to read 200 pages. And I think that's how I did 4.5 days. I read enormous amount for a couple of days, especially again that one day I read 200 pages. So but I don't know. But people don't read, they're not going to read. Okay, so
yeah.
I'm sure you you've just gotten over it, right? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't even think about it anymore. I just kind of laugh. I said I'm going to read the book. Okay,
Have
I
you
hope so.
have you always been
But
able to just sort of do the music and write? Have you always been able to do that?
um,
You haven't been dragged
I
into
so
a different career or anything.
no. But the people I met in music said one a music producer toured with Kenny Loggins years ago said his name is Brian Mann. He said I know your books are probably pretty good, but music is what you should have been doing all this time. And I could have. It's just that my interest is writing is songwriter. I get introduced as singer songwriter. I go, well, not really singer songwriter because I don't really care about performing. And the melodies. I always write both words and music, and I write the music first, and then it takes a while to let all the notes settle. Doing the da 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 singing to for about I don't know, a week or so, and then I put words to it. And I never pick up the guitar and think, I should write a song about, because I have so much that I've written about in my books. I don't need to write about anything. But so the music is just basically, it's kind of separate from me, right? Because the melody is what interests me. I can write really good song lyrics because I'm a really good writer. So it's kind of a cheat, and it's so funny because we did a show of my music with some really great musicians, 16 songs or something, and Kenny Loggins was then we made a shot a movie of it and it got in the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. So Kenny Loggins is there with one of our singers watching. He comes up to me afterwards and he says so let me guess you write all the lyrics and then put them to music, because that's what people think a writer would do, write the lyrics. But in reality, I always do the music first. No idea what the song's gonna be about and I have to figure it out. I have a nice melody now, what's the song gonna be about? So I just make it up, that kind of thing.
So it's always you've been able to always just kind of make it work around the art.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can figure it out. So to write the lyrics, to have them work, I have to seriously, I just have to write the first line or two, and then I figure out it's kind of the voice is what
Yeah.
I'm sort of talking about. The voice, I get the idea of it, get the idiom for the lyrics, and then I can write the song actually pretty quickly. Melodies are ephemeral; they either have them or you don't. You see pop singers come up with some great songs and everything, yeah, but they don't have that many melodies drifting through their head that are really good. When you get one, you grab it. It's like when Paul McCartney wrote "Yesterday." He made up the melody, and he didn't. He liked it so much, and of course, it ends up being a really great song. But he was convinced he'd heard it somewhere else. It couldn't be his, but it was his. So that happens. But I don't know. I find. I haven't written a song now in, I don't know, 4 years because I don't really see the purpose of it. We're just finishing a CD collection. Like 3 songs the recordings need to be finished. The instrumental is done, but we need the singers. And other than that, I'm done. It just costs too much money. It costs a lot of money. And since I don't perform, yeah, I probably could have done something with my music, say starting 10 years ago when I was really right, if I performed
Yeah.
live. But I don't play. I can play. Do you know what the click track is for music? Do you know what that is? A click track.
No.
It's electronic metronome. So I can play it to the click, which you
Yeah.
have to be able to do. So I can play a rhythm guitar and I can play it to the click. I can even pick to the click. But but I didn't really care that much.
Yeah.
I was given some CDs on how to all different picking techniques, and I listened to them for about a minute, and that was it. I didn't care. Vocal lessons I've had with a couple. I just doing exercise doesn't really interest me. Writing songs interests me, and now I like books better. I went back to books. It seems to be my calling, writing books. But if I have an idea, I'm not obsessive like Stephen King or those guys where I might be if I were getting paid a lot, but since I don't, then it's not enough motivation. So anyway,
Did you grow up in Santa Barbara?
no, Northern California, yeah, Sonoma County. We're in the western part of Sonoma County, which is about 50 miles north of 50 miles north of San Francisco.
Oh, right.
I grew up there, and
So very different then. Very different.
yeah, I came to Santa Barbara for graduate school in 1978, and so I've been living down here ever since. Although I did for 18 years with my ex. We lived up in Nevada City, Grass Valley, our old gold mining towns in the Sierra Nevada,
Yeah.
the western slopes of Sierra Nevada. They're about, I don't know, 50 minutes northeast of Sacramento. So I liked it. I liked this old gold mine town. Bought a house built in 1859. So I liked it. I like living up there. But when it's time to go, we both decided to move back down to. We split up and moved simultaneously back to down to Santa Barbara. And now I really like living in Hawaii when I'm there. It's like really easy to be there weather-wise.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of England. you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're having fun with the weather at the moment. It's
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was -8 the other day, and
Uh-huh.
it's now warmer. But because it's warmer, it's now raining. So
Yeah, yeah.
and just
Let's talk about Undercity.
yeah.
What is it about? There's a line I found. I have a really great website. You go undercitythebook.com. It shows a whole bunch about the book and
Hmm.
quotes from the book and about the characters and all this sort of thing. Have you seen my website? You should see it if you haven't. It's really fun. So the line is in a good society, where we are born or whom our parents were before they met and married has no bearing or moment of importance. Ours was not a good society. Because the book, what I find interesting about it is when I was writing that and Metropolis, I wasn't really thinking about Trump or America, going to hell. So, but the books describe a society, describe what happens to a society that decides to purge itself of the people it doesn't care for, like Nazi Germany in the 30s,
Mm.
right? And so, only this is based on eugenics. Francis J. Galton's a creation, a Brit. He made it up. He made up the word, meaning well born. And so there's actually a good book about that called War Against the Weak.
Yeah.
I read when I was conceiving the idea of Metropolis, and then of course Undercity. So and I think of Undercity really is another title could be Underclass, because that's what it really is. It's about a eugenics movement that strips three huge neighborhoods of the metropolis of 1 million people and sent them off in trains into the eastern and the hinterlands. These books take place, by the way, in an alternate history. So a friend of mine, Professor UC Santa Barbara, said this is a history bifurcated 1,500 years ago and created the society. And that's why I stopped writing the book in Metropolis in 2003. I couldn't figure out where it was taking place. How can my main characters, college student, is studying the Greeks and the Romans in a fictional republic? And I realized, well, because as Ray Bradbury says, I say it so. Okay, and then also I realized the book is set in what we know as France, and the metropolis is what we know as Paris, and the holy river Livorno is what we know as the Seine, and the eastern provinces are what we know as Germany and Eastern Europe. So then the whole book made sense. So they send all these people out and think they're all going to die, and some of the people escape the purge there and go into the underground, similar to the catacombs and
Yeah.
of underneath Paris and Rome. Only they're much more extensive caverns. They go down, I don't know, 1,000 feet or something like that. Go way down, and so people are just living down in this debilitated existence. And Undercity describes it, but it also has a lot of different voices talking about what it's like to live in a society like this. So, and of course, the eugenics were getting rid of what people thought were the feeble-minded, the pathological, the infirm, the sociopathic, and killing them. And then the Eastern provinces, what happens is they decided they want some of that land back, so they send their big armies out and they kill. I don't know. First day of the war, they killed 200,000 people. They're just trying to kill people, just like Nazis were doing in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So the parallel to this book would be the Nazis in the 30s and 40s, with the war in the Eastern provinces. My book is called they call it the Desolation, and that would really describe war in the Soviet Union in the 40s. So And the book has a lot of different narrators. Again, Marco Grinnell. Let's see what he says to start the book. He says, "Oh yeah, because my name is Marco Grinnell, and I'm probably insane. It troubles me, though I've learned to adapt. I'm here to tell you my story. It's a fine tale, I promise. So listen closely." And Marco Grinnell he's there with three other companions. They're the main narrators in the book. Marco, Mires Grier, Guys Marbrecht, and this young girl named Pyrenees, who's definitely damaged. She's an assassin. So let's say you're walking through a bad part in one of these cities. I don't know, you can name it in England. A bad part, it's night, and you're taking an alleyway that's the wrong way. And some guys come out. They go, "Hey kids, let's party." Now you're going to try to kind of talk your way out of it, right?
Yeah.
At the point they say "let's party," Pyrenees kills all three of them. She
All
just
right.
kills them.
Yeah.
She'll kill all three of them immediately because she just she's asked by Marco, "Would you have regrets?" He goes, "No, I only for people you've killed." She goes, "No, I only regret the people I haven't killed
Well,
who
because
deserve to be killed."
I think that's something, like you say, there's something that I don't think people understand in these times. Like
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
refer to like Russia and Germany and what went on, is that people don't have the high moral standard that we would like to believe,
right,
and
right.
that there's a book that's very hard to read, but it's called Ordinary Men, and it's about
Yeah,
the East German police and how they were cobblers, carpenters, and stuff like that. They were ordinary men, and 6 months into the war and then being drafted, they're shooting people in the back of the head because they've been ordered to.
right, right, right. And it happens. It happened the British in India, right? That famous massacre,
Yeah,
and our soldiers in Vietnam, My Lai
yeah,
massacre,
yeah.
and in the Indian Wars, the things we're not taught in school what our cavalry did in the American West in
Mm.
encountering Indian peoples. So and every group of people have done that. The French in North Africa. You're not going to find much morality in war or in military situations. You're just not going to.
How do you take yourself there to write about it, though?
How?
Yeah, because
Well,
cause you mentioned earlier that there's that thing that when you find something you don't want to write about because it's uncomfortable or it's unsettling, it
yeah.
how do you take it past that to enable yourself to explore it so you can write it?
I don't. I don't. I don't have a problem writing about stuff. I've lived long enough and read a lot, movies too, and all
Mm.
that. I mean, I
Yeah.
can. In other words, it's I can imitate it, and I have a lot of people. So I also have another one of the vignettes too is called "The Soldier," and he's Evander Juno, and he describes his serial number, where he's from, and everything. And then it's just a rank cannon fodder, right? So he has to be he's conscripted in the army because he got in a car wreck with a girl who got killed, and so the decision was just have him conscripted in the army. So that's where he is, and so he's taking notes. We have a good font for him. It looks like he's writing with a pencil, right? And so he's got his notepad. He's keeping track. He goes of. All the terrible things have happened to him or whatever. So um, and we see vignettes by date, I think starting early in November or October, and all the terrible things they do. And then, of course, then what happens to them at the end. And I got a lot of that. Well, I didn't get a lot of it. I got the confirmation of how I did it from reading a volume I have. Did you ever read Last Letters from Stalingrad? Did you ever see that?
No.
It's a very thin volume. So those are the letters that the German soldiers wrote and sent back home. They got hidden for a long time because they're talking about what's happening. So again, just like reading Hello, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, it confirmed how I was doing it. So how do these notes sound? And they're not all exactly the same, right, as Stalingrad, but this is after I read it, after I written, I looked, I go, okay, that's kind of how what they're talking about. some soldiers are still on the side of it.
Yeah.
Others are like, why are we here? And others, knowing they're going to die, they know there's no get they're not going to survive Stalingrad. So that's kind of how I do it. I read so far, as far as war. I've read a lot of war novels and seen movies and documentaries, right? And not so nonfiction as well. And then people doing terrible things. Well, yeah, I mean, I read I just read books,
Yeah.
and fiction, nonfiction. I don't. So to answer your question, I guess I don't find it difficult at all. I
Mm.
just write it. It's um, it's creating a record of it,
Yeah.
and it's I make it as real as I can, but it is a fictional. It's not only a novel, but it's set in a fictional republic. But it's like Stephen King had a good line. He said, "Fiction is the truth wrapped inside the lie," and I do believe that's true.
Yeah, I do.
So that, yeah, yeah. So that's
I think that's a really good way to put it. Fiction is a truth wrapped up in a lie.
yeah, yeah.
It's actually a very good way to explain it.
Yeah, because it's hard to explain the value of fiction to people who don't read books.
Yeah.
They don't really get, why am I reading something that's not true? Because it is true. You can read an account of the Holocaust and the times in Poland, and it'll be very, very factual, but also maybe a little dry, whatever. And simultaneously, however, if you also read Sophie's Choice, you get a different idea about it. There's a writer, I can't remember if he's American or British, but wrote a book, Up in Smoke, and his argument was about the concentration people being killed, and they go up in smoke from the chimney, from the crematoriums. But his argument was that Churchill was just as complicit in World War II as Hitler, because the Germans offered the British peace.
Yeah, that's true.
But if that, and Churchill, I remember them saying that they would accept that as long as Hitler, Goebbels, Goering, everyone all step down. Okay, and so
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about it. Otherwise, no. So so the
There's
idea of,
also a rumor. I can't. It's difficult to find accurate information, but if I remember correctly, it was one of the reasons that Hitler started bombing cities in the UK is because he got frustrated with Churchill bombing cities in Germany. It was, do you know what I mean? And it was just like, he's just like, if you keep doing this, I'm going to start bombing London. I'm going to start killing your civilians.
Well, what happened was that a German bomber
Yes.
got lost over England and didn't realize they're over London and dropped the bombs on London. And so then Churchill responded by dropping bombs on Berlin or something like that. I think Berlin. And then it just escalated. Now they're bombing each other back and forth. But my point is that if you follow that idea that Churchill could have stopped the war, and you're reading Sophie's Choice, you're reading that if Britain stopped the war right after they'd started, essentially, then it's giving all those people in Poland away to the Nazis.
Yes.
So you can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't say, okay, we're going to have peace, so we're going to be fine. And sorry about all those people in Eastern Europe.
It's an interesting point that people don't actually understand. The only reason the reason Great Britain got involved in the war is because we'd said we would. Because we said Poland was our allies. We had nothing to gain from getting involved. We lost everything by doing it. And people don't kind of understand that Germany most likely would have left us alone because of the close ties to the royal family, and it's close ties to the United Kingdom. But we had given our word to Poland that if Germany attacked, we would come to your defence. And that's how we got into the war.
Yeah, because it ends up being a moral decision. How much do you care about your neighbors? That said, I don't believe that World War One started in a legitimate way by having these alliances. I think that's we do that now with NATO, and it's like I keep thinking our model only goes back as far as World War II, when it should go back to the Guns of August, right? Was it Lord Grey said the lights are going out all over Europe, and we shall not see them lit again in our lifetime. Starting this war, well, it didn't make any, the wars didn't make, that World War I did not make any sense at all. And the American writer John Dos Passos called World War I the graft of the century. And you wonder what did it achieve?
Well, if
Wilson.
there is a photograph, I think it's called the Nine Kings or the Nine Princes, and they it's a picture of all the cousins, brothers, uncles at King Albert's funeral. And the common link is Queen Victoria is the grandmother, and everybody in that picture is either a nephew, a brother, or some relation. They're responsible for First World War.
Yeah.
It was effectively a family feud that killed millions of people and actually wiped out some of the monarch lines.
Yeah, it's I've seen that photograph. It's very striking, especially when you see how a couple of them look like Tsar Nicholas.
They all look, but they were the Russian Tsars, and you just like, you were all related and went to war with each other. You literally were in a family photo, and then you sent your countries to war. And
because I don't think they didn't understand what modern warfare was actually going to be. They didn't really imagine the machine gun and the artillery damage that was going to be inflicted. The British Empire, with those two world wars, as you know, being a Brit, that it effectively ended the British Empire, killed so many people, right?
Yeah.
The youth of the British Empire just bled away in World War I, and then 20 years later finished it off. America became in ascendance because of the end of Britain, and also in a way you could say the end of Germany, because they also destroyed themselves. But I think it's funny because people blame Germany for World War I. It's not Germany didn't start World War I. Germany did not. It
started the kind of there was the assassination, wasn't there? Was it of the Polish politician?
No. Archduke Ferdinand from the Austro-Hungarian Empire shot. Serbia wanted independence, and so he was. It was a time of anarchists. The heads of multiple countries were assassinated, including our president McKinley. Gavrilo Princip shot and killed Archduke Ferdinand, and then the Austro-Hungarian Empire went after the Franz Josef, I think the Habsburgs went after Serbia, and then Serbia had an alliance with Russia,
right?
And so that's how it all. And then Germany had an alliance with the Austrians, right? And so the French joined in, and it was just all a. Somebody should have pulled. They would have pulled the plug. Yes.
So
that's
just sorry to just cut you off there. I'm just conscious of our time. Where can people find you?
Well, okay, so I think they should look up, let's say, because Metropolis, it's metropolisthebook.com, and then undercitythebook.com. Undercity comes out March 31st. So you can buy the book there, okay, and you can read about, you can read a lot about them. They're really super fun websites. Lots to look at and read about. You get an idea how I write with little vignettes from that. So that's what I would say. I would say do metropolisthebook.com and undercitythebook.com. Okay. You can look them up yourself and see they're really fun.
Yeah,
There's a lot about it. It's great.
Lastly, is a random question I just enjoy asking. I want you to imagine you have access to a time machine. The time machine is a car. What car is your time machine? Where would you go? And what's playing on the radio?
So I'm going to choose my favorite car and take it back in time. Is that what it is?
So the time machine has to be a car. So what car would you use?
Well, I have to have the McLaren F1
Nice.
because this is the fastest car in the world. We go back to the 50s. I guess that would be
Yeah.
fun. The 50s. I don't know, or early 60s would be, maybe early 60s, a little bit more fun. I'm not going to go back any farther than that. It's too dangerous, right?
Yeah.
There are too many pitfalls everywhere there. Yeah, and on the radio, I don't know, it'd be it could be Beach Boys, it could be, early Beatles, and it could be, there are a lot of music from that time, but something like that, the early, maybe the bebop era or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm driving my McLaren F1,
Perfect.
and I'm about 100 miles an hour faster than any car on the road
Yeah.
or even ever conceived.
Makes it even better.
So there you go.
Monty, that's
Yeah,
been brilliant.
So
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Okay.
And that was Monty Schulz and his books Undercity. And interestingly, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and we're always referring back to history. But do you know how it starts? It's when we stop listening and start shouting, and we're always convinced the other side is wrong, with no scope to pay any attention beyond that. And the only thing I probably try to achieve with these podcasts, because I meet plenty of guests where I'm probably not politically aligned with them, but I never lose sight that 95% of what we all believe, we're probably all in the same ballpark, and what we're arguing over and being divisive over is the nuances, the tiny details, and the rest of it we probably all agree on. But anyway, that's not meant to be a rant. But thank you, as always, for watching, for listening, for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And wherever you're from, whatever you believe, please do take care and be blessed. Thank you.